be joining us from. Feel free to also pop your LinkedIn URL there. We want to make sure that this is a space that we can also have you all network with each other. And feel free to turn on your cameras if you like, but no pressure if you don't want to do that. We're going to get started in just a second. And I'm joining you all from actually nice, almost spring-like New York at the moment. So it's a nice change of pace. But welcome. Okay, so once again, if you're just joining us, my name is Rob. I'm the Director of Events and Marketing at Power to Fly, and this talk is entitled The Secret to Building a Purpose-Driven Career. Real quick, you can just see our code of conduct on the screen here. Lots of text, but really the only thing to know is don't be a jerk. We want this to be a nice open space where we can have a great conversation. Do like to point out that the content shared during Power to Fly events is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Feel free to participate though. Love for you to turn on your cameras if you would like. We are also recording this, so no need to take notes. We will have this recording in your inbox probably by tomorrow, so you can check that out. If you missed anything or want to revisit it, I'm sure you will. And also feel free to add in any questions. We'll take as many questions as we can now, but I'm sure Natasha would love to hear from you regardless, so just add those to the chat. But I'd love to bring up Natasha, who is the founder of Boss Abroad and and the Alignment Lounge, platforms that empower women to build purpose-driven remote careers and live life on their own terms. And as a remote focused company here at Power to Fly, we love that. Natasha is a lifelong traveler, which we just were discussing before everyone else joined. I can tell you that is true. And a third culture kid, combining her background in international relations and business with real world experiences working remotely for Fortune 500s, startups, and as an entrepreneur. She's helped thousands of women break free from burnout, align with their strengths, and create careers that support freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. She is redefining success for a new generation of remote working women. So, Natasha, so glad that you are here with us today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And I'm so excited to share, what I know about building a purpose-driven brand with you all.
Amazing. So, I think you have some slides that you wanted to share. So, go ahead and share that. And in the meantime, thank you everyone for starting to introduce yourselves in the chat. Welcome.
Here we go. So, yes, today I'm going to talk about building a purpose-driven brand. This is something I'm extremely passionate about and have basically devoted my life to. But first, I want to start by asking you all, what did you want to be when you grew up? You can say it out loud, or you can just kind of, think about it to yourself. Um, I want you to take a moment because sometimes we forget this. You can even pop it in the chat.
Yeah, and in case you can't see it, Natasha, I'll just say we've got an archaeologist, we've got someone who wants to drive trains, a brain surgeon, a doctor, so very varied.
I love it. And now I want you to think about how you ended up where you are today in whatever career you're in. What you do for work, or just what your life looks like. And is it similar or is it the same as what you wanted to be when you were younger, or is it different? So oftentimes we are kind of pushed into a certain career path or an education path. Maybe it's by our parents, by our family, or friends, or even our teachers at school. Or sometimes it's not even by choice, but because we didn't get into the major that we initially wanted, or we graduated from college with zero experience and we're applying to jobs, and it's a tough job market, and you just kind of take what you can get, and then you end up going down this trajectory that isn't really what you originally wanted to do, and then you end up feeling stuck. And I love this quote, because I think it's really true, because burnout doesn't happen because you're working too hard. It happens when you are working out of alignment and why when you're not passionate about what you are working on. So, a little bit about me before we get into things. I know Rob introduced me. I'm the founder of Girl Boss Abroad. I've worked at over 30 different companies. I'm 29 years old. A lot of them, I started working when I was 11 or 12 years old. So I've had quite a long yeah, stint of working and also I think starting to work at such a young age, I also grew up all over the world. I grew up in Australia, Canada, the US, and many other countries in between. Having all of these experiences at such a young age really fast-tracked my growth and also taught me about what I want to do and what I don't want to do, which I feel really privileged to have gotten, even though some of the circumstances weren't that great. But now, because of that, I am able to help other women figure out what their purpose is as well. And over the years, I knew my North Star was working remotely and doing what I was passionate about. And that's what I kind of want to share with you here because it wasn't a straight shot. So I started working retail jobs, waitressing, volunteering abroad to be able to travel. That led to studying abroad, where I applied to scholarships to fully fund my travels. Then I learned about teaching English in a different country. I was living off €1,000 a month for a year living in Spain, and that's when I was started to really create content around traveling, which is what I really wanted to do. And my purpose and mission was to travel and work remotely and teach other women how to do this. So you kind of have to do or be the person that you want to be before you are that person. It's the law of resonance. And I think this is really important when it comes to building a purpose-driven career. A lot of times we are like, we have to climb the ladder or we need to take these certain steps to get there. But a lot of times it is about being the person and really going full force into what your passions are and your dreams are. And then the opportunities start to find you to get you paid for what you love to do. This taught me that, okay, I could actually make money while traveling, even though it wasn't much. And then I kind of expanded on that by getting a job in tech sales, which was fully remote during COVID. And now I was like, okay, I could actually make a full-time salary while working remotely, use this money as leverage to invest it by living abroad in a place that is cheaper. Then this gave me leverage to start online income streams. And then now I hybrid work remote and I also am an entrepreneur. Right now I'm full-time entrepreneur. So I kind of go in and out of both. But I think the main message I want to share here is that through all of the experience you have, it's always so important to learn, pivot, and fail. Failing is the most important part about building a purpose-driven career because if you play it safe all the time, you're always going to end up in your comfort zone and you're never going to actually be able to get to that next level of where you really want to be. And getting there takes risk. A lot of times people are scared of risk because it is genuinely scary, but the more risks you take, you realize it's actually not as scary as it feels. Like the fear of failure is. The fear of failure is what holds a lot of people back from building that purpose-driven career. And if you can overcome that by making failures and getting back up from them, you will realize that it's actually scarier to stay where you are and in that job that doesn't feel like it's in alignment or in that career path that you're not passionate about because the most precious thing we have is time. So the faster you start going after what you really want to do, the easier it will become and that is the only way you will be able to build that purpose-driven career. So I created Girl Boss Abroad to teach women how to do this. I've helped thousands of women move abroad, build their careers remotely through self-discovery and creative income streams. And self-discovery is one of the most important things you can do in this space and in this mission to find your purpose. And I'll teach you how to do that in the next slides. And if you are stuck or you're feeling like hey, half my life has gone by and I've been in this career path for 10 years, 20 years. What do I do? There's no way I can pivot now. You really can because you're not starting from scratch. And I think your mindset is the most important point in this space when you feel like you've already gone down this road so far because rather than thinking I'm starting from zero or I'm going to have to do a 180, you're not. You're starting with so much experience under your belt. You probably have worked your way up so high in a company. You've built so many skills. You have an incredible network. This is all leverage that you can then use to make your pivot powerful. And I'll show you how to do that in the next couple of slides. So, let's get back to who you are. Sometimes we forget who we are because there's so much noise around us. We go down these paths with our lives and our families and our work that we lose ourselves. And I think it's so important to get back to who you are. And first, I think looking at your blueprint, who you are from the moment you're born, human design, personality tests, natural energy flow, even astrology can be so telling to guide us back to ourselves and how we work best. And I think choosing your career should be really based off what your strengths are naturally and what your passions are, because their work should feel ease. You should feel ease in your work. And if you don't feel ease in your work, it's probably because you're doing something that you shouldn't. My brother's a doctor. Everyone in my family is a doctor. I went a completely different direction. Um, and it's not because, and yes, I was kind of pushed into that trajectory of being a doctor, sciences, etc. I love it, but I knew that this is what lit me up and this is what I find fun and I enjoy. And I think everyone deserves to enjoy what they do for work. And you can pivot and you need to look at yourself. And when I actually went into myself and what my human design is, I'm a generator. I know some of you may not know what human design is, and I don't have enough time to get into it, but it was so telling to me that this was correct because how a generator operates is how I operate best. And once I started kind of following those practices, I found so much more ease in my work. And then from there, you can look at what your goals are for your lifestyle. And I say lifestyle goals rather than career goals because a lot of times we base our life off of our career, but I think it should be the other way around. How much money do you need to support yourself and the life that you want to live? Some people want a minimalist, like low key life, and that's totally fine. But some people want multiple houses and to travel, but you're going to have to go through different career paths for both of those. So kind of balancing who you are with your goals and what careers match those. And honestly, ChatGPT is a great tool to use in this situation, putting in your human design and your different personality tests, and then also your lifestyle goals. Ask ChatGPT what your career is, the career you should take is, or what different careers align with what your goals are. And you can kind of get a good list and get an idea of what trajectory you should go down if you don't have that idea yet. I actually have a free resource that works takes you through that exercise. I can share it with you as well. And then lastly, here I have your experience, past jobs, education, experiences in life, if you've traveled the world, if you know different languages, and transferable skills. This is so important because a lot of us forget when we're pivoting, like you actually have so much to work with that you may not even be realizing. And so I came up with this method. I call it the GBA method, the Girl Boss Abroad method, and it's gaining clarity on what lights you up. Sometimes, personally for me, I went to a 10-day meditation retreat this year in Nepal where I meditated for 10 hours a day. I wasn't allowed to talk, make eye contact, do anything, but that brought me so much clarity. And I know not all of us have time or space to take that much time away, but I think there's so much power in cutting out noise, getting off social media, getting away from everyone you know, and just sitting with your thoughts because so often you have the answers within you of what your purpose is, what your passion is, and you just need to get quiet. So that's a really big yeah, first step to take. And then matching your career path with your blueprint and lifestyle, like I mentioned before, and then taking the actions to build your skills and your personal brand, which is what I'm going to get into next. So, this is why most people feel unfulfilled at work, the success trap. It's because this is what we're supposed to do, and then you end up in a place that you don't want to be. External validation versus internal fulfillment. You should always be leading with your intrinsic motivation. If you are trying to hit goals based on what others expect of you or what you think you need to do, you are never going to feel fulfilled and you're never going to have a purpose-driven career. You need to do what you genuinely love and what pushes you forward. And that goes into lack of intentionality. Get clear on what your intentions are, what your values are, and work off of that. And then fear of starting over, like I said, imposter syndrome, you're not starting over. You really do have the tools to make it work. And so this is what you can do to start aligning your career. I kind of touched on some of these things, reflecting and journaling, and then start experimenting. So if you have an idea of what you're passionate about, you should just start sharing it. Make a post, talk to somebody about it, talk to your network and say, hey, like, I really love making this thing or talking about this topic because they may not even know it. And you need to be loud about what you're passionate about and what your wins are in order to build a career out of it. I knew I wanted to be a content creator and do what I do now since I was 11 years old. I knew it, and it took me almost 10 years to fully commit to it because I was scared. I was still 20, 21 by the time I started, but it was really small and it took me almost 6 years before I gained any traction. But I loved doing it and I genuinely felt passionate about it and I just shared my journey. And that is the most important part about building your personal brand is sharing your journey. And your personal brand is actually what is going to build your career and make you a magnet for the right opportunities. Because when you are clear, and you don't have to have full clarity on who you are, but when you're sharing your journey and what you love, other people want to support you because it's the story that they buy into. It's not the complete results. Like people love to have that shared journey with you. And your personal brand is the most important asset that you will ever own because you are born with it, but you can really use it to your advantage, or you could just let it lay latent and not take advantage, which is really sad. I see a lot of people just like let their careers drive them and not really talk about all the wins that they've had, but I think it's so important to leverage this. So that's why I say be loud about what you love, share your wins, post what you're learning, building, or curious about, and be consistent. If you are just starting and you're making a pivot, I challenge you to post a couple times a couple times a week about where you're at and what you love to do and how you want to show up and what career trajectory you want to go down because this will kind of bring people on your journey with you and you can send hundreds of cold DMs to people, but make one really intentional great post a week, you can reach so many more people than that who can then buy into your story. I know I got a message here. I may be confused. Purpose-driven work, more externally focused, like improving the world around you versus self-promotion. Yes, I think it's about serving others, but it's also about serving others through your story and through what your skills are already. So while you are using your personal brand to build your career, you can then use your story to serve others. For example, I went through everything that I did and I built my personal brand so then I can teach women how to travel the world and work remotely. So, yes,
Oh, Natasha, it was kind of making me think of like when you're in the airplane, right? And they say with the masks, when the masks come down, you got to put your mask on first
exactly.
before helping other people. And that's kind of what it's making me think, where if you want to put this good out into the world and make that change, you kind of have to understand it in yourself first before you're able to make that change and put it out there.
Exactly. And I was actually just listening to a podcast this morning, and someone was sharing, it was Mel Robbins, but she had a guest on, and he was sharing that if you are pivoting in your career, you want to go after what you really want, you need to make sure you are good first. Like we all have a million fires to put out around us, but there's no way that we can move forward with intentionality if we're always fleeting and our energy is always outside of us. And it's exactly what, like what you said, you have to take care of yourself so you can fill your cup and overflow into others. And if you don't know who you are and what your purpose is, then you won't be able to do that with clarity and intention. And it'll just cause confusion in everyone around you instead of actually making a true impact. And this kind of goes off of that with the clarity and your network. Your network can support you if they don't know what you're building. So while yes, or your goal is to help others and serve others and everything, if you don't talk about it and you don't share what your goals are, no one's going to know. And there's a saying, closed mouths don't get fed or something like that. But it's like if you don't, yeah, you need to be loud about your wins, and there's also power in being vulnerable. And I'm not saying you have to share like your weakest moments all the time and everything, but sometimes it's scary to even share what you're working on because you're not at the place you want to be yet, but that is the most powerful time to share because you're building. And when you're building, that's when people want to start joining you on your mission who have a shared mission. There's a book called Start With Why, and I always go back to it. I always say it's one of the most like transformative books to read if you're trying to figure out what your purpose is. But you need to really be clear on your mission and know and trust that people around you who share that same mission are going to find you and support you on your journey. And start with, so these points too, like really going into your career, start with people, not just positions. So you're pivoting in your career. Don't just apply to a million different jobs. Find the people who are in those positions that inspire you, that you want to be like, that maybe have done what you want to do, and talk to them directly. I get DMs all the time. I get messages on LinkedIn, on Instagram, everywhere from people who are like, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, let's talk. Like, let's see what's going on, like where you're at, etc. Because honestly, there's nothing that fills me up more when someone's inspired by my story and I can help them and serve them. And that's kind of how you serve, by sharing what your story is. And then you get the people who need you, because you are needed by people, and your story is going to change their lives. Talk about what you're learning, whether you're changing fields, deepening your current role, or sharing what excites you, or even if you're taking a course, like let's say you're pivoting your career and you're missing some skills, you can always take courses online. You can go back and get another degree. Talk about what you're learning or what you're building at this time, because that will also help you kind of process what you're going through. I think making content really helps me process what I'm going through and also help others at the same time. What assessments did you use to learn you were a generator? I used myhumandesign.com. It's free. I actually have I can drop the link here with the full exercise um, on how to. Oh, I'll drop it after, but I have a link with like all the personality tests and the ChatGPT prompt that I use, and it's free. So you guys can use that exercise. And then yeah, reach out with intention. Instead of asking for a job, ask about their path. So when you're networking, when you're talking to people, meeting people, ask them about them, because chances are you're going to learn so much from their journey, just as other people are learning from your journey. And this also builds that long-term relationship because at the end of the day, it's not about a job, it's about building a career. I think there's such a huge difference between building your career and getting a job. A career is fluid, it moves with you, it's evolving as you go. A job is something that you show up and you do, and you can always outgrow a job. You can need to pivot from a job, but your career is something that you take with you. So, how do you do this? Um, I'll answer some of your questions in the chat if there are any that I
I
want
don't think any right now.
to. Okay. Oops. Then I'll go through these. So, how do you stay connected with your purpose in the daily grind? So, I think this is very difficult to do at times, especially with how busy our lives are. But I think intentionality and discipline is so important, and especially in this space where you want to build something that doesn't yet exist fully, you need to be disciplined and you need to prioritize yourself and building this until it starts taking way on its own. And if you're pivoting in a new field, how do I approach the transition thoughtfully? I think really honing in on your transferable skills and knowing where the bridge is, like what skills transfer to this new industry as well, and how can you use what you've done to start at a higher level in your new field, but also um, filling the gaps. Like if you are lacking knowledge or education in certain places, you can always watch YouTube videos, take courses online, even go back to school. How do we choose a career purpose, especially in the second half of life? I think this is one of my favorite questions because it's really up to your mindset. And if you have built such a strong career in one industry and you're a leader in it, you can pivot to be a leader in another industry because being a leader isn't something that is um, only in one industry or one job role. Like that is something that you can be anywhere that you are, or like HR skills or remote skills or travel, like whatever you have, like all of this experience compounds over time and you can take it with you. How do you conquer perfection paralysis when it comes to starting something new? You have to get comfortable with failing. I talked about this at the beginning, but you need to learn by doing, and that's the best way to move forward. But this also goes into your human design because depending on what your human design is and how you work best, you will know how to overcome this. Like for me personally, as a generator, I work best by doing and moving forward. And that's just how my blueprint works. But if you find your human design, you can then understand how you would work best. People don't connect to perfection, they connect to progress, which is kind of what I was touching on earlier about sharing your story, share behind the scenes, talk about what you're loving and what's lighting you up. Start the dialogue, make it open, because there's a lot of people that probably are scared to do what you're starting to do, but they want to. So you can be the leader, you can be the one that blazes the trail that helps other people kind of make this decision, and also, you're showing people who are in the positions that you want to be that you're serious about this and they can even take you under their wing. And are you ready to align your career with who you are? I have some free resources here. So I have hundreds of YouTube videos that go into all of these topics on my YouTube channel, which are all free. I have these free guides. So Aligned and Abroad is the guide that has the personality tests and the ChatGPT prompts. So I can drop that link in here. And then I actually am hosting a group trip later this year, which is going to be like a mastermind for women. So it's going to involve travel, healing, self-discovery, and business as well. And I also have my course, which I don't have here, but it's called Aligned and Abroad. And it's very dense and it walks you through the whole process, starting with mindset to building your career remotely, to how to move abroad or how to transition your finances, invest intelligently, and really build an overall life that you are able to take with you and that's purpose driven. So I will drop both of those links in the chat right now.
Thank you. And while you do that, I'll just say thank you so much. This was so great. I saw so many things reflecting what we here at Power to Fly will say at events. For example, we always say at our virtual job fairs, if you're going to reach out to someone, don't just say, "Hey, I want to connect," but say, "I want to connect because I love that you're doing X at this company. This is what I want to do." Like tell your story. And I love that you kind of were talking about that where LinkedIn, you were saying it's a landing page, but it's not necessarily going to tell your story. So letting people know what that is. And so many great tips here. Thank you so much for sharing everything with everyone here and for dropping that in. We'll send this recording and resources to all of you after this event. So check your inbox in the next couple of days for that as well. And Natasha, before we let you go and let everyone else go, aside from those links there, is there a best place for folks to reach out to you and learn more about Boss Abroad?
Yes, of course. I'll also drop my Instagram link. Honestly, Instagram DMs are the best for me. And I have my personal Instagram and I have Girl Boss Abroad as well. So, yeah, and my email is, I can also drop my email, but my email is
Awesome.
simple. It's Natasha@natashaibrahim.com.
Great. Well, I'll let everyone click those so they can come up and have them or take a screenshot there. But thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you, Natasha, for sharing all of these great insights. Check out other events that Power to Fly has. We have events pretty much every week and are always free. So love to see you at future events, including our upcoming networking events. And in August, we'll be hosting our Emerging Tech Summit and Job Fair. So check that out. Without further ado, we'll see you all soon at our next event and have a great rest of your day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.